Happy New Year, everyone. We're here with the non-neutral zone. It's me, Josh. I'm here with Ian as usual. Ian, how's it going?
It's going good. Ready to ring in 2021.
Yep. We're almost there. Let's see if we make it. It's been a year.
It has. That would be just the cherry on the cake, wouldn't it? Just pop your clogs right on New Year's Eve.
Well, just a good Armageddon style meteorite heads for
Yeah.
Earth, and
Back of the head.
oh yeah, there we go.
Nice.
All right. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. We're here. We're gonna give you guys a show today, as you can imagine. You've probably already figured that out. But we're gonna hit a little bit of news, talk about some stuff that happened this year. Not really news, but old news. We're gonna cover some sleepers and some busts, and we're gonna hit you guys right off the top here. Talk about our schedule moving forward. We're gonna do this show, and we may drop a show here or there during the playoffs if something catches our eye, just to chat with you guys about and kind of give you some content while you're slugging away in 2021, because who are we kidding? It's not going to be that much better than 2020.
It's a myth, people. Don't buy into it.
Yeah, I mean, the calendar flips and the days just keep on coming.
Yeah.
So we're all braced up for more of the same here at the non-neutral zone. But like I said, we're going to hit this show. We're going to hit you guys sporadically with a show here and there. We're going to work on what we're going to do for you guys in the off season. As we get closer to the NFL draft, we'll start ramping back up through the summer, and then by fall we'll be in full swing again with a minimum of 2 shows. Ian came in, pretty close to the season starting after Brandon Lemming flaked on us. So we are we're going to use the off season to try to get right for you guys and try to grow and figure out how we can reach more of your ears. So, yeah. With that being said, let's get into the season review here. Ian, what do you want to talk about?
I mean, there's so much. To me, this has been a crazy year, maybe the craziest to make, and perhaps that's because I've been more involved with the show and a couple extra leagues. But what a year! I mean, with COVID and the injuries, I think the injuries to me were one of the biggest talking points. Not just the amount, but the severity and the players in which they affected. Just threw everything up in there as far as predictability for the year. It's been a crazy one.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about that coming into the season, how with the lack of the proper training camp that they typically have, different schedules, less work with the training staff there in the facilities, we kind of take for granted, because we see what happens on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays. We don't see the work they do in the behind the scenes, and it really does matter for their conditioning when they get out there running 100 miles an hour. So,
Yes.
Some of that was to be expected, but you're right. I mean, it's hard to predict who it's going to hit and how it's going to affect your fantasy roster.
Yeah, and I feel like obviously every year there are injuries. We know that you have to swerve, but this year there are just so many high-profile injuries. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Michael Thomas. I mean,
I'm
the list
still
goes
looking for
on.
Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, Kenny Galladay. That was a mystery one. Joe Mixon, another mystery one. But these are all first round, second round picks. I mean, guys you banked on to deliver you a championship, perhaps, and just devastated from day one. And it's been a scramble ever since. So if you were able to avoid some of those or get lucky and swerve at the right time, then congratulations, you probably won, because it was a war of attrition this year, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no arguments there. We have it on the dock here. One thing in the review that we wanted to touch on, it's drove me crazy all year long. It's, we've seen a lot of coaches fired, but Adam Gase is still employed by the New York Jets.
Yeah, and he actually has found a way to do a worse job as a coach than just losing every game. He won the games he should have continued to lose, and now they're actually not going to get any better.
No, I mean,
awesome.
Look, I don't think that the first overall pick is what they needed anyway, other than the fact they could have traded it. I don't think that their quarterback's the problem entirely. I think the problem is what we're hitting on right now, Adam Gase, and the front office in general. I think they make the wrong moves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a broken organization top down. I honestly think Donald's not bad. Like I think there are worse starting quarterbacks in the league, and he's just in a very, very, very bad situation.
I think that Adam Gase will ruin him, though. I don't
Yeah, no, the ghosts are real, but they're not the Patriots D line. They're the, like you said, the front office.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
The
so
boogeyman's on the sideline talking to him through his helmet. I'm hearing
I'm
voices.
I'm sure that Deshaun Watson's excited to have a new head coach, and um,
Yeah,
I'm sure Darnold wishes that he could be hoping for the same. So,
and I think you mentioned just before we got on air, we both think that Anthony Lynn probably is not long for that position,
mm-hmm.
and so that'll be interesting to see how that affects Justin Herbert next season. Because what a great year he had.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's one thing we talked about early in the year with Herbert, because he is such an exciting prospect, and actually my favorite quarterback that came out of the draft this year. Um, it's going to be tough, man, because you see it with a lot of quarterbacks through the years where they end up with this coaching carousel, and it's hard for them to develop and learn with all that going on. So,
Yeah, yeah, you saw it with Baker, and I don't think Baker's even close to as talented as Justin Herbert. And even he, with a better situation, had a pretty good year this year. I
yeah,
think. I mean,
Baker's a good player, man.
yeah, but not on Herbert's level. So
Not from
I hope that
not
he's
from an
not.
arm talent prospect. I think that Baker brings some different tangibles to the table, intangibles to the table. His charisma, his leadership is a little bit different. Herbert's a little bit quieter,
Yeah,
and it seems that way. And I think they talked about that on Hard Knocks, and that's fine. I mean, he can be a leader in other ways, but I
yeah,
just think they bring something different to the table.
yeah. I agree. I don't think Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes are they're leaders, but I don't think they're outwardly like loud and brash.
Yeah.
I think they lead by example. They lead by doing, and the players fall in line. So I think Herbert has a good career ahead of him if he can find a little bit of stability there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. And I do one other quarterback I want to hit on there while we're kind of in that thread. Kyler Murray's just as short as I thought he was. That dude's had a lot of balls batted down at the line over the last few weeks.
Yeah, still very good though. It'd be interesting. That's another coach that I'm a little unsure about with some of his play calling. We'll see how it progresses, but he
When it
seemed to
pertains to
be
the run,
yes, in particular. Yeah,
yeah.
I think Kyler Murray has sort of plastered over a few of the cracks there by checking down and doing his own thing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out next year and the year after.
Yeah.
I think he's an okay coach, but I don't know. There's some questionable calls made there.
I think he should give more of his play calling to his offensive coordinator or
Yeah.
bring in a play caller.
What's your thoughts on the extended playoffs? Obviously, as we're on the eve of that.
I like it. They said they did that just for COVID, right? Is that right?
That's what I seem to remember that. Yeah, I think they expanded it just because of the potential for missed games and so on.
Yeah. I mean, I
And
like
missed
it. It's more
players.
football, right? Like,
Yeah, I wonder if it'll become the norm. Perhaps I don't know if it's
I,
well
th-
received.
I think it's fine. I mean, there are 32 teams in the NFL. There's a market for it where people want to watch the games. I think it's smart for the NFL. It's smart for the players. They get more game checks.
Yeah. I also think what I like about it, it makes Week 17 relevant for a lot more teams than perhaps it would have done in the past. And those ones trying to sneak in, like the Colts this year, and Washington or Dallas even. I mean, the fact they can make the playoffs is crazy to me. But also, I think that it should be a reward for the number one seed to be the only team with a bye. I don't think that number two should get the bye. So I kind of like the extended playoff that way.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Houston fan this weekend as well as a Colts fan.
Yeah.
Because we can win the division if the Texans beat the Titans. There's like 4 teams that can lose and we still get in. So I mean, I think they put us in an 80.5% chance to make the playoffs. We're still a very strong possibility. But if the Titans lose, we'll win the division, and that will just feel that much sweeter.
Yeah, and I honestly think as far as an outside chance of making it to the Super Bowl, I would put Indy as as probably my main flag in as far as the AFC is concerned, just because of they're a well-rounded team right now with the defense and the offensive line, and they seem to be running the ball. I don't know what happened last weekend. You guys had that in the bag, so
meltdown. Frank Reich just lost his mind.
Yeah. So, but I think you guys have for the not Kansas Cities and Pittsburghs, you have the best shot of making the big game, in my
Sure.
opinion, from the AFC side, anyways.
I think that Cleveland may have a better chance than Pittsburgh.
Maybe. Yeah, they've been really odd this last like 4 or 5 weeks. Pittsburgh.
Well, so is that's what I was going to say. Pittsburgh, same thing. Which I mean, Cleveland just lost to the Jets, but like we said, that might have been Cleveland's little joke at Adam Gase. They might have just let him have it. I don't know.
Yeah, because there was potential there that they would have still got the first pick if the Jags had won one of the last two. So maybe that was them going, screw you guys.
Yeah, we've been where you are. We know what you want.
Yeah, I mean, the playoffs, it's exciting. I mean, this is what we watch football for, is playoff season. So
Sure, absolutely. So you wanted to touch on the flex schedules?
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of ties in with the COVID. I mean, obviously, it's something we've had to deal with, not knowing if a game's going to play, especially like in fantasy from a commissioner's standpoint, having to drum up these hypotheticals and rules, and obviously every league handles it differently. Some are like, suck it up, some aren't. It's been a headache for sure. I mean, I know you're a commissioner in at least one league. I'm a commissioner in one league, and it makes life complicated. So hopefully that's not a reoccurrence next season. I'm excited for regular service to resume.
As long as you have a good league, man, I don't view it as much of an obstacle. My league of record that I'm commissioner of, they know, like, I'm trying to do the best that I can to help them and do what's right for them, the league as a whole, and keeping it fair. So usually when I pass something down, I get a thumbs up and we all move on. As with the Dynasty League that we're in together, where I'm the co-commissioner with Mark, it's kind of the same deal. We've got a pretty good group, and generally whenever anything happens, we pass it down and everybody's cool with it. So, you can end up with a room full of jerks pretty quick if you're not careful. But that's one of the important things as a commissioner is when you put your league together, try to get good fits, people that all get along. So
yeah, not every personality is going to gel well, and so you just got to know your guys, right? So,
that's right.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that's important, and I haven't encountered any pushback, but it's just been a consideration that we've had to deal with all season.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and touch on Alvin Kamara's 6 touchdowns on Christmas. You got that on the list?
I do. I mean, for me, it was one of the only worthwhile topics as far as last week's games. I mean, come on, 6 touchdowns.
Wow. Jeff Wilson Jr., baby. I mean, he's worth talking about.
Only if your name's Josh Hill.
200 yards and a tutty, man.
No, he was good. He had me sweating there for a minute, but Alvin Kamara, I mean, he equaled a record from 1929. Kind of mad at Sean Payton for not letting him have that extra one that he gave to Taysom Hill. Give him 7.
Did you catch the post game where they asked Kamara about if he was upset about him getting vultured?
Oh, no, I didn't.
No, it was pretty boring. He just said, "We share the wealth."
Well, that's fair. I mean, he was wearing Christmas-inspired cleats. You see the red and greens.
I mean, he scored 6 touchdowns. How mad could he be?
Yeah, that's true.
And you said he scored 21 this year?
21, yeah, 21 years.
Okay, yeah. So 40% of those on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I think he went from like 5th on the list for rushing touchdowns, or 6th maybe, and then up to tied first after that game.
So he had 15 going into the game.
And overall, no, he had because he has 5 in the air. So,
but overall, he had 15, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So he had 15, and then he scored almost half that many in one game. So just keep that in mind when we talk later.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Yeah, and then the last thing I wanted to touch on was some of those big contracts we saw this year, which to me is interesting because obviously we know the salary cap is pegged to reduce next year. So
yeah,
a lot of these guys getting paid right at the right time, so to speak. But it'll be interesting to see how that affects the team's ability to make moves going forward. So
yeah, I mean, there have been some big ones, and you're right. I keep coming back to the Dak Prescott situation whenever I think about this. I think he's going to regret not taking that money, man.
Yeah, because the biggest thing was, as far as I remember, is he didn't want the 5 year. They wanted him for 5 years, and he said, "I only want a 4-year deal." Because I don't think the money was as much of a factor as people maybe think. I think it was the length of the contract. But
yeah, but when you
I
want that
agree.
much money, you have to get creative with how you structure the deal. I don't
I
know that they
agree.
would have the cap space on 4 years.
No, I don't think so either. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he may, he may regret it.
Yeah, I mean that's what we saw with Patrick Mahomes. He took that huge deal over such a long amount of time, and that's to help the team,
Yeah,
make these moves because then they were able to pay their big defensive linemen and make the moves. They paid Kelsey again, so it's a team thing, man. Where when they take these deals, yeah, the long term it ties to that team through the good and the bad, but at the same time, that you're going to be able to be protected by your offensive line. They're going to put the people – you have to trust the organization to make that kind of deal, and it seems like Dak
yeah.
Prescott didn't.
And I don't know that I fully understand it because to me, if I'm an organization and I'm offering you that kind of money, I want your loyalty more than I want anything else. And by you saying, "Oh, I don't want to stay here for 5 years," then I'm questioning your motives.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be really interesting to see how the Cowboys approach it because the fan base loves Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Well, now if the Cowboys come out and act like they don't want to pay him because of the injury and because of what they were already doing with, obviously they didn't get a deal done previously. If they don't do it, they're going to look at it like the Cowboys are a trash organization. And while they might be, I don't think that this transaction has anything to do with that.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair. I would agree. I think because obviously he wasn't willing to buy in long term. I mean, they were offering him, was it 30, 31 or 30 million a year for 5 years? I mean, I would take that
Yeah, I mean, I would take it. I think.
to throw a ball around. I mean,
Yeah, I'd take it. Pretty much do anything. There's not much I wouldn't do for that kind of cheddar.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would hope that the fans look beyond that. I mean, it is an unfortunate situation. You don't want to see a guy get hurt like that for sure. But I hope they're not so short-term memory and then they forget that he wasn't willing to buy in, which is essentially what the team are asking him to do. Like, buy in, man. Like, we want you long-term. We hope that you want the same. And he wasn't willing to do that, which is a shame.
Over 1 year too. It's so odd, like it just seems to me if they're not asking him to take that 10-year Mahomes deal, they just wanted 5.
Yeah, which I think I think that's astute business on both sides.
Yeah, I think it was fair. I think it was a bad move by Dak, and obviously it's easy to say that in retrospect, but roll the tape back, said it earlier as well. So
yeah, a lot of people did. So, yeah. Anyways.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on. That was fun, kind of reviewing what's happened this year. We'll kind of hit on some other stuff that happened in 2020 as we look at our 2021 way too early sleepers and busts. Where do you want to start at? What position do you want to start with, Ian?
Well, we typically do it from the quarterback down, don't we? I think
cool.
So.
Yeah, sure.
You want to do like you did last week, where we do the good then the bad, or
sure.
Yeah.
Hey man, it's your show. I'm just here.
Oh yeah, something like that.
All right.
For me, my way too early sleeper is actually Carson Wentz, but there is a small caveat with this. It's pertinent to him getting a trade, which I think will happen. And the rumors are he may end up in Indianapolis. And if he does, I think he could be very, very serviceable next year.
I'm a big Wentz fan, and I'm an even bigger Indy fan. So yes. I'd be okay with it. I mean, it would definitely be an upgrade on Phillip Rivers. However, I would like to see Eason get a shot eventually.
Yeah,
what about if he went to the Bears?
Bears would be good too, but I don't think they quite give the protection that he needs right now. As far as the offensive line, it's okay, but it's not great.
Yeah.
But I think the situation in Indianapolis is perfect. I mean, he has some decent receivers around him. He has a very, very, very good running back, a couple good tight ends, great O-line, and a good defense. So he's not going to be chasing the game. He's going to be able to play a little bit more relaxed, and I think he'll have a little bit more time in the pocket. And you look at the Tannehill move, I think they're very, very comparable players at this stage of their careers. you go from a team with no offensive line and no time in the pocket, and he goes to a team that has got a great offensive line with a good run game, and he's able to play a play action. And Ryan Tannehill looks good. So yeah.
My biggest difference there is I think with the knee injuries and just kind of being beaten up, I don't think Wentz can move like he did. But
I don't think he will need to in Indianapolis.
no. I agree. I just for me it's Jalen Hurts. He's looked really good since he's gotten a shot there behind Wentz, or moving ahead of Wentz now, it seems. And the biggest reason why, we talked about the offensive line, and Jalen Hurts is a great athlete, so he can move around a lot better. Just talked about Wentz not being able to move around after being pummeled for the early part of his career. The ACL injury didn't help him at all. So, and then you got the second-year leap. I believe that Peterson there will really help Jalen Hurts come along as a player, and he's got the Konami code, man, where you get those rushing yards. So, and like we talked about off air, you said, people are going to be on Jalen Hurts. Well, people were on Kyler Murray this year coming in, and he's still in the 7th, 8th round in most leagues. So if you can get Jalen Hurts, and I don't think he goes that early because he doesn't have the draft pedigree that Kyler Murray had.
Mm-hmm.
The Heisman, the first overall pick, he doesn't have that. Jalen Hurts was, a 3rd-round pick by Philly?
Yeah, so, he also doesn't have the weapons that Kyler does either. So
yeah, well, not yet. They don't have the name recognition.
Exactly.
So I get what you're saying there. Jalen Reagor's going to come along. Dallas Goedert's a great tight end, and I think Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. So, I've got him pegged as my sleeper.
Nice. I like it. So running backs. For
me, it's DeAndre Swift.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, new coach coming. We don't know who that's going to be yet. New front office. I think they fired their GM as well. And the two that I've heard interviewed, Louis Riddick was one, and the other guy works for the NFL Network. Can't remember his name, but he was executive of the year, I believe, in the NFL at one point for another team. So either guy, that GM, they've both said that they believe that Matthew Stafford is the guy. I believe they're going to build that team around him. And if they can get that offensive line right, Stafford's already shown he'll check the ball down to Swift. So you get those receiving yards that are very coveted at the running back position.
Yeah, I like Swift a lot. I'm high on him, so I like that take. For me, J.K. Dobbins, similar situation. It'll be a second year back with a similar skill set, actually, I think. And obviously, all the talk coming into this year was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor. Those are the guys. But I actually think of the four, these two were my favorite as far as for their skill set and their ability to make plays. So J.K. Dobbins is going to be the bell cow next year, I think. Obviously, Ingram done, and Gus Edwards isn't that guy. Every week since the bye, they wrapped up J.K. Dobbins' usage, and he scored a touchdown every week the last 4 weeks. So I just think having a piece of that offense with Lamar Jackson and that play action and that RPO style, I think J.K. Dobbins is going to have a great year next year.
Yeah, I'm real big on J.K. Dobbins. I agree with you being a great player. I don't think that Gus Edwards is going away. He's averaged like 5.5 yards per attempt his career. Like it's 400 and something touches, 500 and something touches. I can't remember. It's quite a few carries. And his average is great. I think he's a really good player. I think he's underrated. His name's Gus. It's hard to get excited about a guy named Gus. So it's not quite as sexy as JK. So, it is what it is. I agree with you. I think he's going to have a big year next year. It's just I don't think that it matters that much. He's going to get enough work to be a great player for your fantasy team.
Plus JK is without doubt the receiving option of those two. So even if he shares the early down work, he's going to get the extra targets and extra usage there. So
yeah. I think goal line work will be a big factor that you'll have to weigh in the offseason where you think you land on that. So I agree. Great take. He's going to be a sleeper. He's a guy that's probably going to go in the 4th round, don't you think?
Probably at its highest, I would say. I mean, yeah, probably.
There'll be the hot train's going to roll, man. We know it. All these guys, they're all going to get a puff piece in the off season that sends everybody's hair in every direction, and they're gonna be all about it for about 3 or 4 weeks. So
Yeah, I think he might slip under the radar a little bit with Najee Harris and Travis Etienne coming out. I think he might slip behind them in the drafts, depending on where they land.
maybe so. I'm excited to see where they do go.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's move on to wide receivers, man. Who you got sleeping at the wide receiver position?
Well, I think he's a guy you might like. I have Michael Pittman. Obviously, came into this year. He was hurt a little bit here and there at the start of the season, and obviously we know Phillip Rivers has his issues, but
yeah, he does.
He's flashed. He's looked great. He's a big target. He's fast. He's got good hands. I think he's everything that Indianapolis need to move on, if you like, from T.Y. Hilton for that target. They have some good. I mean, Pascal looked pretty good at the last few games of the season as well. That kind of a deep threat. So I think Pittman could be the main target, and then you've still got some weapons there that you can stretch the field with if and when you release T.Y. Hilton. So
I don't think the T.Y. Hilton release is coming. Just my take. He said that he wants to finish his career with Indy. I think that means that he's willing to take a pay cut if he needs to stay there.
Yeah.
And I think he's a team player. I think he will remain in Indy. And I think he's still a really good player. We saw it as the year kind of came to a close here where he's really picked it up. I think he's got healthy.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he'll take as many targets as maybe he has done in the past. I think Pittman maybe takes a few more. That's all.
Maybe so. And I think it depends on what we do at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
As well. So there are some factors there, but I love Pittman as a player. He reminds me of Keenan Allen, actually. So
yeah, very much. Which is why I thought he would have a little bit more boom this year, just because of Rivers' obvious attraction to that kind of style player. But
yeah, unfortunately, he's old and he sucked already. So all right, for me, I've got a pretty good sleeper here. I think most people will be sleeping on him. Kiki Kuti from the Houston Texans. I've liked him since he came into the league. I think he's a great player. He's got better coaching coming in. I don't know who that's going to be, but it will be better. Even if it's Romeo Crennel, if they decide to hire him full-time as the interim, if they decide to go that direction, it would be an improvement over Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, he's looked – I mean, we know what he can do. So he looked pretty good in parts at the end of that season. So
he's got to quit fumbling the ball.
Yeah, that's true. But I like it.
Yeah. All right. Tight ends, man. I've got Hunter Henry. It's a bit of a sleeper. It just depends on people's mood on how they feel about Hunter Henry. He has trouble staying healthy, but he has been able to do it in this year of all years. So another year for Herbert. We talked about Herbert, how good he is. Another year in, it's only going to help. He's only going to get better.
Yeah, and obviously we touch on this almost every week. Tight end landscape is barren, and it's a full of landmines. But Hunter Henry is one of the few consistent performers out there that you can pretty much rely on getting some performance every week. So I like that.
He's super safe, and I think his upside only gets higher now.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Who you got, man?
I got Irv Smith Jr. for the Minnesota Vikings.
Love Irv.
I may be mistaken here, but I believe Rudolph is out of a deal this year. I think they move on from him. But even so, Irv Smith down the stretch was being utilized in a big way. Looks great. And he's actually already taken away some of the red zone looks away from Adam Thielen. And he was almost a bust candidate for me, but Thielen, that is.
Yeah.
So I think Smith has looked good, like real shifty, great hands. And so I think the way that they play, they seem to like those big body receivers down the towards the red zone. I think Justin Jefferson has a big leap this year, and coming and Irv Smith also has a big leap. So
yeah, I mean, like you said, Irv Smith already taking red zone looks away from Thielen. Irv Smith's a great athlete, man, and Adam Thielen really isn't. So it's natural that he should take away looks from him, and I think it continues. So.
Yeah, and honestly, his biggest hurdle this season was health. He missed a few games here and there, but when he's played, he's looked solid. So
Yeah, well, it's one of the tight end and running back are the two most brutal positions in the game, so that we can expect them to have more injuries. It's only fair.
yeah, that's very true.
Well, do you want to start here at tight end with the
Us?
dumpsters here, the bust, or do you want to go to the
Yeah,
top back to quarterbacks?
we can run it back that way. Sure.
Cool. Well, who do you have? You said Irv Smith is your sleeper. Who's your bust?
I've got and it's a bit of a stretch. It kind of goes against your take earlier, but I have Hawkinson as a bit of a bust. Um, I'm not sure if Stafford will be there next year. He probably will, but even so, Hawkinson was he had a good year, very solid. I'm just not sure that he will repeat. That's where I'm at with him, and especially if Stafford isn't there, I know for a fact he won't repeat.
Hawkinson is a second-year player, man. And you may be right, but it's my belief that he's only going to get better. He's going to continue to grow and learn the game and be more savvy at the position. He's already a great athlete. As for Stafford, I just believe it's too hard to replace quarterbacks in the league to just move on from one of the best.
Yeah, I also think that Hawkinson fed a lot on the fact that Golladay barely played this season. So if Golladay is retained, or if they find another receiver there to replace him, then Hawkinson can see some opportunities drop.
Maybe so, but if I'm remembering correctly, in games where I did have Golladay, because I drafted him in the league record in the third round, like a putz. If I'm remembering, might have been second round actually. Yeah. Anyways, so if I'm remembering it right, when Golladay was healthy, I remember Hawkinson scoring multiple touchdowns in those games when Golladay was there. And I think it actually was a benefit to him having that wide receiver one in the game.
He scored a couple of touchdowns, but his usage otherwise was low. 3, 4, 6, and 7 were the weeks that Golladay played, and he only hit double digits one time in that stretch. So
receptions or targets?
Points, fantasy points.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's another factor that I'm not expecting. If Golladay is, like I said, if he's retained, I'm not expecting him to miss the entire season again.
I actually expect him to move on.
I could see it.
I heard he's coming to Indy.
Oh my God, you want everybody, bro. You want Robinson, you want Golladay, you want everybody. Ain't happening.
I don't want them all. I'm just saying one of them.
Oh, okay.
I want one.
Who's your bust?
Yeah. So for me, for the bust, Evan Ingram. I mean, come on, we know he's gonna bust. We can move on.
Perennial bust, man.
It's just hard to pick. For me, it's hard to pick a bust at a position filled with bust. You've got 3 or 4 guys locked, and the rest of them, who knows?
Yeah, I almost went Mark Andrews, but he finished the season real strong, so I kind of was inclined not to. But he could be another one.
If I would have thought of that, I would have actually picked him.
Oh.
I didn't think about it. I don't believe in the passer there in Baltimore, and unfortunately, as a receiver, you got to have somebody throw you the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Wide receiver for me, I've got Henry Ruggs. People are going to be willing to pay up for the upside, and I don't think he ever hits it this season. It'll depend on what they do at the quarterback position. I'm inclined to believe they're going to move on from Carr. It kind of seems that way, feels that way. And if they do, then it'll depend on that. But I just, Henry Ruggs' skill set doesn't match up with Carr.
No, not at all. No.
So for me, I think he's going to end up being a bust. I could see people drafting him in that 7, 8, 9 range and not getting really the payback on it.
Yeah. And didn't he go pretty much that high this season? Almost?
Yeah, but he didn't pay back, so I don't see him rising much from there. He may get into the 6th round.
Yeah, he had like one good game, right? I think.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2. I'm not sure. He was hurt a lot as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and they obviously, well, all their guys were hurt. I feel like.
Not Nelson Aguilar, baby.
Not Nelson Aguilar. Yeah, well, there you go. That says a lot when he's your number one receiver.
He's like wide receiver 30 this year.
Gross.
I'm playing him this week.
That's even worse.
Hey, man, week 17, you gotta find somebody to play.
Break the bottom of the barrel for sure. My bust is Tyler Boyd. We think AJ Green is gone this year, correct? After this year,
I'm interested to find out, man. It's too close to call for me.
But either way, I think Higgins has already sort of stamped his sort of name on the number one target in that offense as far as receivers. And Tyler Boyd has never been a wide receiver one. In the season that AJ Green missed, he was neutralized pretty much. I don't think he has a skill set to be a number one, whereas Higgins does, and he's proven that already. A lot obviously depends on the Burrow situation. I did see a video of him yesterday where he's up and about, walking and working on his rehab. So get better soon, buddy, and hopefully he can come back as well as he was when he left, because he looked good.
I hope so for Bengals fans. They deserve to have some kind of security.
Yeah, because he looked great for, everybody's talking about Justin Herbert now and how great he had a season he had. But if Burrow played the whole year, I don't think it's close as far as their numbers. Burrow was great. So,
yeah, maybe so. Herbert didn't play the first, 3 weeks of the season?
I think it was 2. Yeah, I think he came in. Was it the third he came in when they punctured his lung?
Yeah.
What's his name? Taylor's lung.
Yeah, Tyrod. Poor Tyrod.
Yeah, I know. He's launched 5 franchise quarterbacks careers though. So
yeah, well, everybody's got to have a legacy. Yeah, and I mean, Higgins, he kind of reminds me of a poor man's Juju Smith-Schuster. That's what he reminds me of.
Very nice.
I mean, it's just the facts. I'm with you. Tyler Boyd, not cut out for it.
Especially if Green gets released or traded or whatever. I think his value will undeservedly rise just because he'll become the senior member of that receiver core. But I don't think that his position changes at all.
Yeah, I've described him his entire career as vanilla, and I will continue to do so.
Keep him on ice, people.
That's right. Let's move on to running backs, man. Who you got at your bust there at the running back position? This one's kind of spicy. I like it.
Yeah, and I don't think he'll have a bad year, but I think it'll be a disappointing year. So mine's James Robinson. Kind of like Philip Lindsay's second year. He obviously blew up this year, rookie, undrafted free agent. I'm just concerned they're having a new coach, new quarterback, most likely. So I don't know how that volume will change because he got every carry he could take this year.
And plenty of receiving work as well.
Yeah. And I just think his ADP already has skyrocketed, in my opinion. There's no chance that it's not. I think I've seen him going as early as 104 on average right now in these super early rankings.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
The 4th pick?
Yep, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Dude, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I had not heard that before right now. Yeah. That is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
I'll send you the link if I can find it, but I'm pretty sure
I believe you, but it's incredible. 104. So you're telling me there are 4 other backs you wouldn't take ahead of him?
Oh no, absolutely not. No, there's probably 7.
Yeah,
6, 7.
right.
So, I'm happy to let somebody take him, and I'll pick up somebody else like I did with Cook this year.
Jeez. I want to know, if you ever find that, I want to know who went at 102, 103, and 101.
Probably, I would guess.
McCaffrey, Kamara, Cook, and Henry, right?
I would go Kamara, Cook, Henry is probably the one, those 3. And then McCaffrey maybe behind just because he didn't play. But I would still take McCaffrey over James Robinson.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I'd take him over all those guys.
Maybe
Henry. Cook. Maybe Dalvin Cook over McCaffrey, and that's it. Even when McCaffrey came back in after his high ankle sprain, he scored 30 fantasy points. He was still Christian McCaffrey. Zero chance I would pass on him at the 101, 102.
Still has the I may be wrong in this, but I believe he still has the highest average points per game of any player in the NFL this season.
McCaffrey?
Yeah. I think it's 27 points a game he averaged.
Yeah. He only played 4 games, but yeah.
So, yeah, James Robinson, I think you'd be stupid to draft him personally.
At that cost, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Jeez. Have they officially fired their head coach?
I don't – that's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't think they've officially done it, but I think it's only a matter of time.
It's imminent?
Yeah.
Think they'll just move up Jay Gruden?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I like Jay Gruden.
He's a good coach.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, for me, I've got Alvin Kamara. Breeze, I don't think he's going to be back. Michael Thomas isn't going to be injured all season. Those two things, we saw what happened when they were independent of one another this season. Kamara struggled. He ripped off a couple of long plays to kind of bring up his points in those games, but it's not always going to be the case. Like we talked about at the top of the show there, he went to 21 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
And 6 of those came in week 16.
That's when you want him, though, right?
I guess, but you got to get there.
That's true. Yeah, I obviously am a big fan of Alvin Kamara. Don't hate this take. I do think he's going to be expensive.
If you're taking him at the 102, 103, which is where he's going to go, odds are you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I would probably and I didn't like Derrick Henry at all coming into this year. I just don't love his skill set. I know he's a great football player, but he's kind of boring to watch.
I agree with you 100% on what you just said.
Probably go Henry over him if assuming Cook and C-Mac have gone 101, 102.
Well, look, even if you don't want to go Henry, and I'm usually running back, you could go Davante Adams there.
You could. I don't know that I would, though. That's a bold pick. Bold. I mean,
I think you would have been happier with Davante Adams and Alvin Kamara this year on the whole.
I had them both in one league. How's that feel?
Well, I have Davante Adams and Stephon Diggs in that league I was talking to you about earlier.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's
not for me, buddy.
No, not for you. That's for everything else.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Stephon Diggs goes next year as well.
What do you reckon of Saquon on the subject of running backs, real quick, before we move on to quarterbacks?
He'll still go in the first round.
Is he a potential sleeper candidate?
Oh, shucks. I don't know, because he still goes around, between 105 and 110, don't you believe?
Yeah, but we know he has 101 upside, so potentially. I don't know how it comes back off of that ACL, because it could be look at Peterson the year he came off of his ACL. Was it 2,100 yards? So
look, modern medicine, man, like the way they treat these ACLs now, it's nothing. So I'm not overly concerned about it. They didn't seem concerned about the extent of the damage after they got in with Saquon. So I don't think it's going to be anything to worry about. The only thing I would be concerned with is the other knee.
Yeah, then that is a concern. I mean the AP, didn't AP go like in the third round that year he came off of the ACL?
Yeah.
I think he probably will still go in the first round. A lot of leagues, I think he could drop to the second in a few, but
if he does, I'll be happy to take him.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Giants look like a different organization when he plays. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a great talent as a receiver and as a runner. So
yeah,
he didn't really look like himself though, even before the injury.
Yeah, but I wonder if that has anything to do with, like you say, no preparation and so on. So we'll see how it works out this year.
I think he was playing through a couple of little nagging injuries as well, like an ankle and maybe something else. I honestly think it may have played a role in him tearing his ACL, kind of favoring something else and led to the injury.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Last one then. Quarterback. Who you got as your bust?
Russell Wilson. It's a little bit bold, but it's just looking at his touchdown percentage. When you look at the volume, I think they want to run the ball. His ADP is going to be higher coming off of this season. To me, there's risk that he's a bust. And I'm not saying 100% like I'm out on him. It just depends on where his ADP lands. But I could see someone taking him in the third to fourth round, and that's just entirely too high to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we both agree that I think the earliest I'll take a quarterback is maybe the 7th round, around there, depending on who's out there. But I think I agree with you. I think Russell's going to be going pretty high, just to the people's hope that he might repeat that performance at the start of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers this year. He went like 10th, 11th round and really paid back. But what about next year?
Even Brady probably could got it 12th round. He was like quarterback 10, I think. So
yeah. So if you can wait and find a quarterback, don't pay up on these guys.
No, and to your mention real quick there. My guy this year or this coming year is Aaron Rodgers. It's for a similar reason. Obviously, he finished it as the quarterback 3, maybe was it, or something like that. And I guarantee you, he won a lot of people their leagues this Week 16 performance. So, I just think that quarterback 4, sorry, but I just think that that's not going to be repeatable. I think it's his best statistical year of his career. And I think he'll go as the 3rd quarterback off the board, personally, in most leagues.
Man, it's hard to say.
Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and then maybe him.
You think people are still going to be drinking that Lamar Jackson Kool-Aid?
Yep, just because of the way he finished the season pretty strongly. And I don't know. I just think that, like you say, that rushing ability is a cheat code. Yeah, so I think people are going to want to buy into that. I think it'll be between Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers on the 3rd pick as far as quarterbacks.
I honestly think Josh Allen should go after Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I think he's the 2nd best talent as far as fantasy football consistency is concerned. But I think Lamar, I don't know. He's just one of those athletes that people buy into a lot just for the razzmatazz of it all. I love that all the talking heads, they were so out on Josh Allen during his draft process. It was Carson Wentz and Jared Goff, and then a distant 3rd, Josh Allen. Yeah.
And I love that they were wrong.
He's outworked them both since he got into the league. I think they both got kind of complacent. I mean, Wentz has had his injuries. Goff hasn't. But I think Goff got to the Super Bowl too early.
And Goff got paid $100 million. That didn't help him any.
Yeah, whereas Josh Allen is working on his technique. I don't know, like that's something you see with Brady, with Rodgers, with Wilson, with these, Hall of Famers. They work on their game even when they've made it and they've got paid and so on. So
I mean, look, Allen, his big drawback was his accuracy. It wasn't arm strength or size. It was accuracy. And a lot of times they can't work through that. Josh Allen has worked through it. Now he's an accurate passer. He's like Cam Newton, but accurate.
Yeah, I think he was up to like 70% on the season or something.
Yeah, he's great, man. I love Josh Allen.
Yeah, big fan. I got to respect the guy who has made it and is always wanting to get better. So, and again, he probably won a lot of people's leagues this past week. So, he only played 3/4 of the game. So, if you have him, congratulations.
Who'd they play against?
I don't remember. I think it was best team of all time, but I don't want to name him right now. I don't want to name and shame him. That's not fair. Going through some stuff,
Trying to work through it over here. Well, good. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's got us. Like we said, kind of stay tuned. Have your noties turned on so that we'll hit your phone when we drop a show until we get some things ironed out. We will be back on sporadically while we're working through everything as we look into the off season. Like we said, once summer hits, we'll be at 2 shows a week during training camp. Leading up to the NFL draft, we'll definitely drop a show a week. Right now, there's not going to be a lot to report on. We're going to take this time to make a better product for you, the listener.
Yeah, and I might jump on some Twitter, so it's not just Josh, so you have a little bit of a British vibe to the tweets.
There we go.
To the hashtags.
Yeah, we need to get you on there. I've honestly not been tweeting much. Can't get much of a Twitter following on there, so maybe you'll be better at that.
I'll just start hating on people, and that usually works, right?
There we go. I like it. I like hating on people.
Spicy.
All right. Well, guys, it's been great. It's been fun. It's been a heck of a year. We hope you have a good new year. We hope you had a great Christmas. That's Ian, and I'm Josh. We're out here, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.